Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur.
And I'm Stephanie Harlow.
We're going to talk to you about a case that recently came up in the news this week. But before we dive into it, a couple of house cleaning things real quick, because we haven't really said too much about it. CrimeCon. A lot of you have been asking us about it, and we were waiting until they gave us kind of the word to announce it, but apparently we could have announced it a while ago. I don't know. It was a little bit of confusion, but they officially announced it today, which is for you guys. It would have been Monday for you guys. I don't know when this is going to come out, probably Wednesday. And so if you want to see us at CrimeCon, it's really easy. Just go over to their website, which is crimecon.com, I believe, and use our code CrimeWeekly. That lets them know that you're there to come see us, helps them decide where to put us, all that good stuff. Anything else that I'm missing with CrimeCon, Stephanie?
Yeah, CrimeCon is awesome. If you haven't gone,
True.
It's a lot of fun.
Everyone knows.
So, well, I think that there's people who have come into the true crime scene recently and maybe during the pandemic when there was no CrimeCon and they've never been to a CrimeCon and they're kind of nervous and they're like, is it worth it? It's 100% worth it.
Yeah.
We have so much fun. Derek and I usually do a meet and greet. We have a couple of drinks with you guys. We hang out. I mean, when we were in London, we
Stephanie
were
has
wandering.
more than I do.
I definitely do. When we were in London, we were wandering the streets of London with I don't know how we got bottles of alcohol. But we were holding bottles of alcohol and we were just rolling 20, 30 deep in the streets of London.
Got kicked out of a bar
style. We got kicked out of a bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that now. We were going up in the
there's
glass
too many
elevators.
Of you. There's too many of you. You're not coming in here.
There's too many of you. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? But anyways, we have a great time. And then we got Podcast Row. So we always, are able to do meet and greets and hang out with you guys and talk and hug. If you're into hugging, I hug. Derek doesn't.
That's not
unless
true.
I slip him one of my Adderall and then he's all about the hugs, man.
And I'm ripping stickers like crazy for you guys.
I'm going to give him an Adderall this time so that he's just going to give you a big bear hug every time you see him. He's just so excited and he'll just talk to you forever. So yeah. Fun times. So if you have not gone yet, this year is the year, okay?
Orlando.
We're going to make Orlando interesting because nothing else does.
I mean, if you like Disney.
Yeah, and Universal. I like Universal Studios more than Disney.
Yeah, so there's going to be tons to do down there, and we're probably, it's not locked in yet, but pretty confident in saying there's going to be a criminal coffee presence down there as well. More than likely, we'll have coffee there for sale. So if you're on the fence about trying it and you want to avoid shipping, that's a good opportunity to grab it there. And obviously, if you pick up a bag or a box and you want us to sign it or whatever, we'll do that. We'll be around all week, where it's a great time. Should definitely check it out if you're in the area. If not, they have so many group chats on Facebook and stuff where people coordinate travel. It's insane. A lot of people. I think 2,000-3,000 people usually end up showing up to it. It's a lot of people.
I feel like more than that. It looks like all their platinum VIPs are already sold out. Honestly,
yeah. So it might even be 4,000 or 5,000 people. I don't know. It's a lot of people. It's a really good time. A lot of speakers there as well. So there's a little bit for everybody. So check that out, as well as Criminal Coffee, as I just mentioned. We're both rocking the merch tonight. You have merch available on criminalcoffeeco.com. Also, the bags are still available. K-Cups are currently being made. So I'm hoping by the end of this month, they'll be back in stock. As soon as I get them at the distribution center, I will let you guys know and we'll put them up. I ordered double the amount I did last time, so there should be plenty for everyone. But yes, I will keep you updated on that. Okay. Anything else?
No. Very fun. I'm excited. I'm excited for all of it.
I am as well. Okay, so let's dive into this week's episode, okay? So Austin, Texas, law enforcement officials have arrested 62-year-old Raul Meza after finding former probation officer, 80-year-old Jesse Fraga, dead inside of his home. Fraga was discovered in a bathroom closet with knife wounds, a belt around his neck, and a belt around his wrists. Police identified Meza as the main person of interest in the murder. And it has since been revealed that he has a long criminal history. And Stephanie's going to fill us in on all that because it is pretty extensive.
Yeah, this is actually crazy. I'm pissed off about this. Very, very
angry. As we usually are.
I don't but this is even more egregious. I don't understand. So check this out. Tell me if this makes sense, if any of this computes to you at all. In 1982, Raul Meza was sentenced to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to the rape and murder of 8-year-old Kendra Page. So he rapes and murders an 8-year-old child. And at the time of this crime, he was already on parole for another crime, for robbery. He only gets 30 years in prison, and then he only served 11 of those years before being released in 1993 for good behavior. Tell me how in the world you rape and murder an 8-year-old child and you only get 30 years in prison and then you only have to serve 11 of those. I do not understand what is happening here and like how anybody allowed this to happen.
Yeah, I don't get it either. So, I don't have a rebuttal. I don't have a devil's advocate perspective. The laws are weird how they work. Obviously, there's some type of parole board that convened. He went in front of it. Clearly, they felt like he was no longer a danger to society. If I had to take a guess, he probably had a very lengthy resume from within inside the prison where he went to get his education. Maybe he was part of multiple activities involving community members, whatever it might be. I agree with you. I don't see how there's anything he could do on this earth that would redeem him from that, where to the point where he can go out and be a free man when the child that he murdered is no longer alive, and that the children's parents have to still be out there functioning and realize that the person who murdered their child is a free man at that time. It's just, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't think a lot of people, even the people who may be not on our camp, will disagree with us on this. I think
apparently this parole board who, like, I would like to have every single one of these people who voted for him to get out after 11 years. I would like to have every single one of them named, publicly shamed, and held criminally responsible for anything he does after at this point. And like, I don't understand. You took a life, not only a life, but the life of a child after you sexually assaulted this child. And they're like, 11 years seems good. What the? But it seemed like this dude was good at manipulating people, to be honest with you. But I mean, that shouldn't be a reason that he gets out. Like you said, he probably had a good resume. Like maybe he went to classes and stuff.
I'm sure he laid it on thick.
Oh, I'm sure he did. But like, don't you realize that this is a criminal? Like a bad guy who has an interest in making you think he's a good guy so he can get out of prison?
And they're supposed to look at the specifics of the crime that they're originally in there for as well.
Hello?
Like that should be the main point.
You shouldn't get 30 years for the murder of a child.
That might have been the maximum sentence.
Why?
Based on whatever the charges were. Like, I know what the act is, but I wonder what he was convicted of.
I don't care.
I know what you're saying. But you follow me? What's the technicality where, okay, maximum sentencing on that charge is this. But even so, that's fine. What would make you believe that he should be back out in society where...
What makes you think he's rehabilitated? Like,
the only way to know would be to put him back out there and see if he reoffends. And I've said this before, that's the risk, right? The only way to truly know if they're reformed is to put them back out in society and see if they do it again. And if they haven't reformed, if they haven't changed, they're going to kill another kid.
Or somebody else. But
somebody else.
To me, for me, it's like, I'm going to go ahead and err on the side of caution and just not put you back out there ever. Like, you're lucky you're still alive at this point. You're lucky that, and they always say like, oh, it's more expensive to, kill somebody on death row than to, keep them alive forever, which is like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it because it's arbitrary. And because y'all made things more complicated than they have to be, but like the price of a bullet, it's not that much. And somebody like this dude deserved one right in the head. Mm-hmm. One right in the head. I'm not sorry. Mm-hmm. I don't take it back. Right in the head. I'll do it myself. I won't even charge for it. Price of a bullet. That's it. So listen, after he gets released, Raul Meza seems to like make friends with Jesse Fraga and Jesse's wife and other members of their church congregation. So they befriend Raul. They invited him to Bible studies. They helped him find a job and a place to live. And in the meantime, before he had a job and a place to live, they let him stay in their own home. And then in 1994, literally like a year after he gets released, early, right? He gets released early. He's got the God shining down on him. He's got all these people who are willing to go out of their way and help him, even though he committed the worst act known to man. He still does something, they don't specifically say, that violates a condition of his release. He goes back to prison for another 8 years. And during that time, Jesse Fraga and his wife stayed in constant contact with him and, as they said, offered him friendship, guidance, and encouragement. And you're over here saying, like, why? Like, why'd they do that? Well, I think that we're going to answer that in a minute. But Meza was released again in 2002. And in 2010, it appears that Jesse Fraga tried to help Meza by giving him money. But apparently, like the parole officer for Raul Meza was like, no, I don't want you guys in contact with him. That's a condition of Meza's release. You shouldn't have contact with like the Fragas. And so Jesse Fraga and his wife sued, saying that this violated their First Amendment rights to practice their religion and that they were being punished for trying to help rehabilitate Raul. The lawsuit was eventually dismissed when the parole officer backed off of this restriction, and Raul Meza moved back in with the Fragas. And in the lawsuit, they'd been represented by civil rights attorney Jim Harrington. And Jim Harrington spoke to Jesse about his motivation to have a convicted killer live in his home. Like, why are you going so hard for this dude, right? Like, why are you going so hard to have him move in with you and to have him to help him? And Jim Harrington said, quote, I had this conversation with him about whether this was really a wise thing to do. It was out of his own Christian belief. He and his wife had a history of reaching out to people that most other folks would not be near. When we were talking, he said nobody else would take care of him. We need to do it, end quote. That's absolutely not true, okay? Just because nobody's helping a convicted child murderer does not mean that you have to at all. In fact, there's no help for people like that. But 4 days after Jesse Fraga was found dead recently, Raul called the police and he confessed, and he was like, oh, I hear you're looking for me, right? Because they named him as the person of interest. And he was like, I hear you're looking for me. And I am Raul, and I killed Jesse Fraga after sexual activities between himself and I, kind of went out of hand. So I don't know if that's true, but if it is true, it kind of makes sense why Jesse Fraga fought so hard to have Raul be able to have contact with him and to move back in with him.
Makes total sense.
Makes total sense. And, he was found in a closet with a belt around his neck, and there may have been some like autoerotic asphyxiation happening here because Jesse Fraga's cause of death was strangulation. So that is possible. But not only did Raul Meza confess to killing Jesse Fraga, he confessed to killing others. He said he'd killed a woman in 2019 named Gloria Lofton. And in fact, it does turn out that in 2020, a DNA profile obtained from the sexual assault kit from Gloria Lofton's case matched Raul Meza's DNA. But no arrest was made at the time, and it's unclear of why no arrest was made at the time, considering that Raul Meza's DNA was on file as part of his sex offender condition. So she was raped. The DNA in her rape kit led back to him. Nothing happened, and I don't understand why. Okay? I do not understand why. So according to True Crime Daily, Raul Meza allegedly revealed that he was a killer. To the police, he was like, I'm a killer and I'm ready and prepared to kill again. And actually, I'm looking forward to it. And at this point, police believe that he may be connected to at least 8 to 10 unsolved homicides in the area. So what the hell happened here? What the hell happened? Because this guy seems to be like lucky break after lucky break after lucky break. And finally, he's the one who's like, guys, I'm here. Okay, I'm a killer. And I've done it before, you idiots.
Yeah, and if you don't get me off the street, I'm going to kill more people.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you want to hear?
This is a problem.
There's a lot of issues in what you said. There's multiple issues. It's not just one isolated thing. But one thing that I think we can focus on, at least here, is the fact that if he hadn't gotten out after being caught the first time, none of these other things transpired, right?
Yeah,
so we got to start there. And I do think, and I know you're being serious, by the way, you're not just being like dramatic. I know the whole bullet thing, you're completely being truthful about that.
Serious, yeah.
But bringing it back down to something that's maybe a little bit more legal, right? I do wonder with these parole boards and these hearings that they have, if can be a higher level of accountability. I don't know if it would rise to the level of a criminal charge, because you have a situation where you'd have to prove that they did this for those reasons with knowing this. But I absolutely think that from a civil perspective, as far as the family members of the victims that become victims after these people get out for crimes they shouldn't have gotten out for, the family members and friends should be able to go after the members of this parole board civilly for what's happened. You see it now where you have police officers who there's case law coming out now where they're going to be able to go after police officers civilly. That's at least what they're trying to do. I know there's a level of qualified immunity with certain things, but you're having people who are now being charged, or I should say sued, for things that they're doing in the process of their duty. Well, why would the parole board members be any different? So I think there needs to be
I agree, but even judges who make these decisions, they have immunity.
Well, that's different. So judges you can't touch, right? Judges
but
you can't touch, and even
why can't you touch judges if they're making bad decisions?
I'm not saying I agree with it.
That put killers back. Yeah, but we need to change that, man.
Right.
Like that needs to be changed. This whole thing needs to be burned to the ground and rebuilt. Our justice system is so garbage. And I mean, like, I couldn't even point to a justice system anywhere in the world and say, like, oh, it's perfect. So I'm not saying that it's just like America, but like our justice system is so garbage that and it's so arbitrary, it doesn't even make any sense. There's no like, okay, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. So people really kind of just feel like maybe there are going to be no repercussions. And I mean, serving 11 years for the rape and murder of an 8-year-old girl, that might communicate to you, well, I can just kind of get away with anything. And I'm charismatic enough and I'm manipulative enough to just convince people that I'm actually a good person, even though they know with their own eyes and brains that what I did is unforgivable and the work of an evil person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't get it. It's scary to think that you catch the guy. Luckily, for whatever reason, they get him off the streets. The investigation goes through. It goes through the courts. He's found guilty. He's behind bars where he should be. Can't hurt anybody else outside those walls any longer. And then a board of 5 or 7 people look at the case. He's able to, like you said, manipulate them. They see this extensive list of things that he's done while he's been in prison that may suggest that he had, an epiphany and has become a better person. That's all well and good, even if it's true. But then you got to always revert back to, okay, so it does seem like he might be a good person now, but what did he originally do? Okay, he originally killed a child. Can we bring the child back? Anybody? No, we can't. Okay, so you got to think about the trauma you're causing to the family members by re-victimizing them, by releasing the person who's responsible for the death of their child. That has to be considered. Maybe it should. Maybe people are going to say, well, that's not how it works. Well, maybe it should. Maybe it should. And again, and I said it before, I'll say it again, the only way to truly know if that person's reformed, because you're basically making an assessment on what you're reading. The only way to know if an alcoholic is still an alcoholic, to send them into a bar and see if they take a drink, right? That's how you.
I don't think that alcoholics consider themselves ever not an alcoholic. I think they don't ever consider themselves healed, right? It's like a day by day thing. So like they wouldn't be going into a bar because they
don't want to put themselves in that situation.
Because they know the temptation would be far too strong. So like
put someone back out there.
If you're a murderer or a rapist of children, then you probably don't want to put that person back out there where children or like vulnerable people are just walking about. I mean, clearly he's a sex predator, right? Because his DNA was found in the sexual assault kit of Gloria Lofton from 2019. So clearly he's a sexual predator who feels that this sex is just his to take. So I wouldn't put him back in a position where he's going to be tempted to just take whatever the hell he wants from any woman or child that he sees.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that
bullet. That's all I'm saying. That's the only solution for people like this. They cannot control themselves. They do not wish to. And honestly, you took a child's life. Yeah, and you should be dead.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's it for you. And that's the whole thing, right? And it goes back to the analogy. With an alcoholic, they would purposely stay out of a bar, but let's say they go in. And let's say, unfortunately, they relapse and they have a drink. Mm-hmm. Well, what type of effect would their drink have on society? At the surface level, it's only going to affect them. Now, if they got in a car and started driving, sure, you got me there. But
affects their family because he's going home being abusive to his wife, kids, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's some residual things. But with a child predator, if they go out there and you put them in an environment where they can reoffend, and they happen to kill another child, well, that's a little bit different, isn't it? Right? That's affecting not only that person, but also their family, their friends. Like it affects an entire community. And there's no way to reverse that. Once it's done, it's done. So that's when you realize as a parole board, oh, you know what? Maybe he hasn't changed. Oh, well, lesson learned. On to the next one. Yeah, it's just too risk worth reward. And there's not enough reward there for one person to get their life back when there's a possibility they could do it again. I know that's not the criteria that they apply, that they look at when they're doing these parole boards, but maybe it should be. Maybe it should be more in line with that. their rights shouldn't outweigh the rights of the community members that they're going to be
Never.
involved with.
The ones who haven't committed crimes, like as far as I'm concerned, you do something like this, your right to be a part of like the community and society is retracted.
Right.
Okay. And I'm not going to put you out there so you can attack people who are law-abiding citizens, who aren't out there murdering and raping people. Why would I put your rights over the rights of somebody who hasn't done that? Like, I don't understand it. And listen, there's a whole big push for, oh, we have to rehabilitation. But like, I will say the same people who are like shouting from the rooftops for people like Raul Meza to be released or anybody like him to be released and given a second chance are the same ones canceling people like and taking their livelihoods away and publicly shaming them because they said something wrong on Twitter 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's like, keep the same freaking energy, all right? Or maybe get your priorities straight because like I'm so sick of reading stories like this and it's not just this. It's not just this one. It's a million more. Like for instance, just recently, I don't know if you've heard, but there was a registered sex offender who took himself out as well as 6 other people, including his wife, her 3 children, and 2 of one of his stepdaughter's friends, little teenage girls, like 13 and 15 years old, just because he was about to go back to court for another stupid criminal thing that he did. And he was like, I'm not going back to prison, so I'm going to take out everybody with me. Why are these people getting out? Like he was convicted of first-degree rape, and now he's back out, and he's going to do it again. Mm-hmm. And then when he gets in trouble for that, he's like, well, I'm just a selfish prick, and let me just take everyone out. And this happened in Henrietta, Oklahoma, I believe, just recently this month. And so it's like ridiculous. We shouldn't be playing games or like gambling with the lives of people who we're supposed to be protecting. And so if you've committed a crime like this where you've taken somebody else's life or you've completely like ruined their lives because you felt it was okay to grab them and rape them and completely transform them internally forever, you're done. That's your chance. It's not like you like went and robbed a Best Buy and walked out with a TV that wasn't yours. This is like there's different like, degrees of wrongness. There's different degrees of unforgivableness. And rape and murder is at the top of it. And you should be done. You should be gone. You're either in prison forever where I can't see you, or like I said, the price of a bullet. I'm done with this. I'm done.
I'm not. I mean,
how much is a bullet? Like 25 cents? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not even going there. I'm not going to be your accomplice.
You're not going to be my accomplice? By telling me the price of a bullet? I can find out.
There we go. Now
all right.
Now I facilitated this thing. Great. Thanks for bringing me into this. So we want to hear from you guys on this one because obviously we're very passionate about it. Stephanie, more than others. But it's one of those.
Stephanie, not more than others. Stephanie, it feels exactly the same as many other people do, but people are afraid to say it because they're afraid that they're going to be called intolerant or like, oh, but you don't understand. That person could be innocent. Like, yeah, there's a difference between like being innocent and there's a possibility of that and like outwardly.
This person isn't even going for like a new trial though. This person's guilty. They're just trying to decide whether they should be let out or not. So
people are just afraid to say the facts because they don't want to be called like mean or intolerant or like violent or like whatever the new buzzwords are that we just say to people who are telling the truth. But a lot of people feel this way. And if you don't, you should. Because that's you, your family, your children, your sister, your mother, your father, your nieces on the line sitting out there walking around on the streets while violent predators are just waiting to kill them or hurt them. So you should care. Everyone should care and everybody should be as passionate as I am. And I know you are, sir. I'm so pissed. I'm so pissed. Like when I was reading this, I was like, this can't be true.
Didn't pick up on that.
This cannot be true.
Didn't pick up on it. No, I definitely. Justice system is not great. There's some issues. There's some big holes in our system. And we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you think. Well, first off, what do you think about this case? What do you think the repercussions should be for the people who are making these types of decisions that are allowing individuals like this to be put back out on the street after however much time they've served? Who cares? What do you think? Do you think this is the way it should be? Do you think it needs to be changed? And if you think it should be changed, what do you think should happen? Should there be some more accountability on behalf of the parole board where there's some civil recourse that a family member or friend can take when their loved one is hurt or killed by an individual who was apprehended, gone through the justice system, going through the court system, found guilty of their crime, And they're not stating that they're innocent. They're just saying, hey, I'm reformed. I'm a changed person. And I think I could be reacclimated back into society. How much of a weight should be put on their original crime? And is there certain crimes that regardless of what they've done while in prison, it will never outweigh the risk that they pose to society by letting them out? What do you think about all that? There's a lot that we talked about tonight. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. Make sure you weigh down in the comments below. This episode will be out on Wednesday, but sometimes it comes out on Thursday. It all depends on YouTube when they start to approve our stuff, because obviously we cover polarizing topics. Is that a sensitive topics? Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah. Also in the comments, let me know what the price of a bullet is.
You do that. Price of a bullet. It's probably less than 25 cents, depending on what type of bullet you want.
A freaking bargain.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm saying like the size, the caliber. Some bullets can range
really
to about $1.25 if you want like a,
I'll buy the best one.
A sniper rifle round, like
No, actually, I want something that's like more blunt, so he suffers.
So like a 40 caliber bullet would be pretty blunt. 45.
I really want him to
they're like probably 10 cents.
Realize that he's dying. I want him to realize, and I want it to be long enough.
Okay, we have to have the legal department take a look at this episode.
That he has like an understanding that his life is draining from him. That's all I want. So I don't want it to be quick and painless. Yeah.
On that note, we appreciate you joining us on Crime Weekly News.
In fact, I might miss. Maybe my aim will be just a little bit off that day. Sorry, I'm done.
I don't know. I'm trying to save it. I'm trying to bring it back. I'm in the bus. I'm driving, and we're just right on the edge, and you just keep grabbing the steering wheel and trying to take us over the edge. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
That does sound like me. It does.
Thank
you for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram. All that stuff's in the description box. Thank you guys so much for being here with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.